Welcome, everyone. One of the best ways to prepare for the IELTS speaking test is to see it in action. That's exactly what we're doing today with this complete mock test from Spinta. As you listen, think about what the candidate does well and where they could improve. Afterwards, we'll compare notes with a full performance breakdown. Let's begin.
Good morning. Can you tell me your full name, please?
Good morning. My name is Alex Morgan.
Thank you, Alex. Where are you from?
I am from a small city called Bath. It's in the southwest of England. I grew up there and then moved for study and work later.
Right. Let's talk about your home and family. Do you live in a house or an apartment?
I live in a flat in a converted Victorian building in the city center. It's on the second floor and it has high ceilings and big windows, which I like because they bring a lot of light into the rooms.
How long have you been living there?
I have been living there for about 4 years now. Actually, I have been living here since 3 years. I moved in 3 years ago and I've stayed since then.
What do you enjoy most about your home?
What I enjoy most is the sense of calm and having a dedicated workspace. I work remotely 2 or 3 days a week, so having a quiet corner with a good desk and ergonomic chair makes a big difference. Also, the neighborhood is friendly with cafes and a small park nearby, so it's pleasant on weekends.
Do you often have visitors at home?
Yes, I do have friends over quite often. Not huge parties, usually dinner with 2 or 3 people. I like cooking for them. Sometimes we watch films. Sometimes we just chat late into the evening. It's a nice way to relax and stay connected.
Let's move on to family. How many people are there in your immediate family?
In my immediate family, there are 4 of us. My parents, my younger sister, and me. My sister lives in another city at the moment for her studies, so we speak frequently but don't see each other every week.
What do you usually do together when you meet?
Usually when we meet, we cook a big meal together, maybe a roast or something seasonal. We also go for long walks in the countryside or visit a museum. My parents and I enjoy discussing books and current affairs, so conversation is a big part of our time together.
How has your relationship with your family changed over time?
I think as we all got older, the relationship shifted from being quite dependent to more of a friendship. We respect each other's independence, but we also show practical support when needed. For example, during the pandemic, we set up video calls and helped each other with grocery deliveries, and that strengthened our communication.
Now about work or study. Are you working or studying at the moment?
I am working full-time as a product designer for a software company. I focus on user research and interface design, and I collaborate closely with engineers and product managers.
Why did you choose this job?
I chose it because I enjoy solving problems that affect real people. Design sits at the intersection of psychology, technology, and business, and that mix appeals to me. I also studied design at university and gained experience through internships, so it felt like a natural career path.
What is a typical day like for you at work?
A typical day starts with checking emails and messages, then a team stand-up to align priorities. I spend mornings on user interviews or analyzing data, afternoons sketching interfaces or prototyping, and later I review designs with developers. I also carve out time for reading and learning new design techniques.
Do you plan to continue in this career in the future?
Yes, I see myself continuing in design, but maybe moving into a leadership role or specializing in accessibility and inclusive design. I want to help shape design practices that are ethically sound and useful to a diverse range of users.
Let's talk about hobbies. What do you do in your free time?
In my free time, I like reading, cooking, and cycling. Reading helps me unwind, and I try to mix fiction and nonfiction. Cooking is creative and social. I enjoy experimenting with flavors. Cycling is my main form of exercise, and I often cycle to work or explore nearby countryside on weekends.
Which hobby do you enjoy the most, and why?
If I had to choose, I'd say cooking because it combines creativity, technique, and social connection. When I cook, I can follow a recipe, but also improvise. And seeing friends enjoy a meal I prepared gives me real satisfaction. I enjoy cooking, especially when I try dishes from different cultures.
How long have you been interested in that hobby?
I have been interested in cooking since my late teens. My grandmother used to teach me simple recipes, and that sparked an interest which I developed further through books and online classes.
Does your daily routine ever change because of your hobbies?
Yes, especially at weekends. If I plan a long bike ride, I will wake earlier, prepare a packed lunch, and set aside the afternoon. On evenings, when friends come over, I rearrange my schedule so I can go grocery shopping and start cooking earlier.
Now thinking ahead, what are your future plans for the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I hope to progress to a senior design role, perhaps gain more responsibility leading a small team. I also want to travel more, learn a new language, probably Spanish, and maybe take a short course in accessibility design. Personally, I would like to buy a place of my own if circumstances allow.
Why is buying a home important to you?
Buying a home is important because it offers stability and a sense of belonging. Renting has been fine, but owning a place would allow me to invest in long-term improvements, create a space that truly reflects my needs, and feel more settled in my community.
Okay, that's the end of part 1. Now in part 2 I will give you a topic and I want you to speak for about 2 to 3 minutes. Here is your topic. Describe a meaningful journey you have taken. Please say where you went, why you went there, what you did during the journey, and explain why it was meaningful to you. You have 1 minute to prepare. You may start when you are ready.
About 3 years ago, I took a 10-day solo trip to the Scottish Highlands, which was one of the most meaningful journeys I've experienced. I went because I wanted to get away from routine, to be in nature, and to test my ability to travel alone. During the journey, I traveled by train, and then by rented bicycle, and I camped at simple sites and stayed in small guest houses. Each day I rode through glens and along lochs, stopping to take photographs, sketch landscapes, and talk with locals in village cafes. One particular day, I climbed a modest hill at dawn to watch the sunrise, and that moment felt profound because there was a complete silence apart from birds, and I felt connected to the place in a way I rarely do in a city. The trip taught me to be more self-reliant. I learned to plan routes, mend a puncture, and adapt when the weather turned unexpectedly. I met people who shared stories about their lives and industries: fishermen, a potter, a shepherd. And those conversations broadened my perspective about life choices and resilience. The journey was meaningful because it gave me space to reflect on what mattered, helped me slow down, and improved my confidence in being comfortable alone. On returning, I felt more decisive about career choices and more open to occasional solitude as a source of renewal. Is that about the right length?
Right, you mentioned meeting locals and dealing with challenging weather. Can you tell me more about one conversation with a local that stayed with you?
Yes. In a small village, I stopped at a bakery and started talking with the owner, an older woman who had run the bakery for decades. She spoke about how the community had changed, about young people leaving for cities, and the difficulty of keeping small businesses afloat. She said something simple yet striking: that small acts of kindness and routine work keep communities alive. That conversation reminded me that progress isn't just big projects, but daily commitments people make to each other.
Interesting. How did dealing with practical issues like a puncture affect your experience?
Dealing with a puncture forced me to slow down and rely on local goodwill. A man cycling past stopped and helped me fix it, refusing any payment, and we ended up chatting about routes and his family. It made me appreciate human generosity and that sometimes difficulties create opportunities for connection.
Thank you. Now we will move to part 3. We'll talk about travel and its effects. Do you think people travel more today than in the past?
Yes, I think generally people travel more now due to cheaper transport and digital booking platforms. Affordable flights and online accommodation listings have made it easier for wider groups to experience different countries. There is, however, a complexity. While more people travel, the purpose and intensity have changed. Short city breaks and social media-driven trips are more common, whereas long, formative journeys seem less frequent for many.
What are the main reasons people travel these days?
People travel for leisure, work, education, and to visit family. Leisure travel covers a wide range from relaxation to adventure tourism. Work, travel, and study exchanges remain important. Social media also encourages travel for experiences that are visually appealing or culturally distinctive. Additionally, some travel is motivated by health and well-being, people seeking retreats or nature to recuperate from busy lives.
How does travel affect people's attitudes towards other cultures?
Travel tends to broaden perspectives and foster empathy when done respectfully. Immersion in another culture dispels stereotypes and encourages curiosity. However, superficial encounters can reinforce clichés if visitors only engage with tourist hotspots. The depth of attitude change depends on willingness to learn, language skills, and time spent engaging with locals rather than remaining within tourist bubbles.
Do you think tourism has more positive or negative effects on local communities?
Tourism brings economic benefits like jobs and infrastructure, but it can also strain local resources, raise prices, and sometimes damage cultural sites. The net effect depends on management. Sustainable practices, community involvement, and regulation can help maximize positives while minimizing harm. Poor planning, on the other hand, often leads to over-tourism and loss of local character.
What responsibilities do tourists have towards the places they visit?
Tourists should respect local laws and customs, support local businesses where possible, and minimize environmental impact. Simple actions like proper waste disposal, avoiding single-use plastics, and learning a few phrases in the local language show respect. Ethically, tourists should consider the social consequences of their behavior and choices, for instance, not engaging in activities that exploit people or wildlife.
How might travel change in the future?
I think travel will become more conscious and technology-driven. Advances like virtual reality could offer alternative experiences, while people may prefer longer, lower-carbon trips rather than many short flights. Travel companies might adopt more sustainable models, and destinations may implement visitor caps to protect ecosystems. Remote work could also lead to a rise in digital nomads, blending travel with sustained work in different locations.
Do you believe virtual travel experiences can replace real travel?
They can complement, but not fully replace, real travel. Virtual experiences are valuable for accessibility and education, offering a glimpse of places people cannot physically reach. However, sensory elements like smell, touch, and the unpredictable human encounters make real travel unique. The emotional resonance of being present somewhere and interacting with people is difficult to replicate virtually.
Some argue that travel helps global peace by increasing understanding. Do you agree?
I agree to a degree. Travel can humanize others and reduce prejudice, fostering cross-cultural understanding. But it's not a cure-all. Structural inequalities, politics, and media also shape opinions. Travel is one of several tools that can promote empathy, but it needs to be accompanied by education and dialogue to have lasting impact.
How should education prepare people for more global interactions?
Education should emphasize cultural literacy, critical thinking, and language skills. Exchange programs and project-based international collaboration can expose students to diverse perspectives. Teaching history and current affairs with nuance helps avoid simplistic narratives. Schools should also encourage reflection on privilege and ethical responsibilities when engaging globally.
Finally, thinking about technology, how has it changed the way people plan and experience trips?
Technology has simplified planning through apps and review platforms that provide real-time information. Navigation, translation, and booking tools reduce friction. On the flip side, reliance on screens can sometimes disconnect travelers from spontaneous discovery. Technology can both enhance and dilute the experience depending on how it's used.
Alright, that is the end of the speaking test. Thank you, Alex. I see, we will finish now.
The candidate demonstrated Band 8.5 level performance. Notable errors included saying, "I have been living here since 3 years," when the more accurate phrasing is, "I moved in 3 years ago," or "I have lived here for 3 years," and saying, "I am very enjoy cooking," when the correct form is, "I really enjoy cooking," or "I very much enjoy cooking." These slips were infrequent and occurred sporadically across the test. They did not impede understanding and were typically self-corrected or followed by a correct formulation. Fluency was strong with a smooth, natural flow and appropriate use of discourse markers, though there were occasional brief hesitations like and slight pauses when searching for a precise word. Vocabulary was wide and precise with natural collocations such as user research, inclusive design, immersive experiences, and over-tourism. Word choice was generally sophisticated and accurate. Grammatically, the candidate used complex structures effectively, demonstrating well-formed conditionals, relative clauses, and modal verbs, but made occasional minor errors in article use and tense selection in casual speech. Pronunciation, rhythm, and stress were natural and clear, enabling easy comprehension throughout. The Band 8.5 was assigned because communication was fluent, responses were detailed and coherent, vocabulary was flexible and accurate, and grammatical control was strong with only isolated lapses. What prevented a higher score were the occasional minor grammatical slips and a couple of slightly awkward collocations under time pressure. Eliminating those small inaccuracies and reducing hesitation even further would be necessary to reach Band 9. To improve to the next band, the candidate should focus on tightening article and tense accuracy in spontaneous speech and practicing lexical precision under timed conditions, while maintaining the evident strengths in fluency, pronunciation, and range of ideas. Thank you for practicing with this IELTS speaking mock test. Visit Spinta for more comprehensive mock tests and personalized feedback to boost your IELTS score.